Hi. Well, for some reason, this clock is, well, this is only the second time that I've done any recording through the use of my webcam and submitting it, uploading it to YouTube. But this little computer clock is actually running faster than a regular clock. I'm hoping to get 10 minutes worth of material in here. If the clock doesn't run too fast, I just might do it. Hello to the listener. This is a second recording in addition to the 4.5 minute video that I posted as part 1 as a response, a video response to a girl who was disaffected with Mormonism. And at the end of the 4.5 minutes of my part 1, I just barely mentioned kingmen. In this book called the Book of Mormon, whether it's a collection of fables or whether it's real, doesn't matter too much. If you think it's not true, it's still a collection of stories that people can learn from. As a boy growing up a long time ago, in the 1950s, I remember having Aesop's fables read to me. And I always asked, did this really happen? Did this really happen? And the answer was, no, it didn't really happen. But Aesop wrote a little story to give an object lesson. An object lesson. Okay. It didn't matter that the story was untrue, because at the very end there was a moral of the story. You've heard the phrase, and the moral of the story is, and then you have the punchline, which is the moral of the story. And so I'm very familiar with fables like Aesop's fables. The events never happened, but the storyline illustrates an important object lesson or an important point. So whether you're a believer in the Book of Mormon or you think it's just all fables, here's a good example of a story with a point, and an interesting point that I want you to keep in mind, because this is part 2 of possibly 3 or 4 parts. And to follow on the heels of part 1, we will reintroduce the idea of kingmen. And I want you to, if you can, especially to members of the church, to liken the scriptures unto yourself. And you do know what that phrase means. There's a phrase in the Book of Mormon from that, well, there's one from 2nd Nephi also. It says, and now these are the words, and ye may liken them unto yourselves and unto all men. And of course they're counseled or advised to apply the scriptures and liken them unto themselves. So with this in mind, think about the idea of kingmen. And in the Book of Mormon, and I'll open it up again, Alma, chapter 51, I'm going to quickly read some verses that have to do with the story of these kingmen in that book. And I want you to liken it unto yourself, if you will, as I read. Or to find the object lesson in it, if you will. And bear with me, I have the Book of Mormon online, and I'm going to read from that. So, here goes. I will pull it up. Okay, I've pulled it up now. And it came to pass, now this is Alma 51, as I said, chapter 51, verse 5. And it came to pass that those who were desirous that Pahoran should be overthrown from the judgment seat were called kingmen. For they were desirous that the law should be altered in a manner to overthrow the free government and to establish a king over the land. Verse 7. And it came to pass that this matter of their contention was settled by the voice of the people. And it came to pass that the voice of the people came out in favor of the freemen, and Pahoran retained the judgment seat, which caused great rejoicing among his brethren and also among the people of liberty, but who also put the kingmen to silence, that they dare not oppose, but were obliged to maintain the cause of freedom. And it came to pass, verse 13, and it came to pass that when the men who were called kingmen had learned that the Lamanites were coming down to battle against them, that they were glad in their hearts, and they refused to take up arms, but they were so enraged with the chief judge and also with the people of liberty that they would not take up arms to defend the country. Verse 17. And it came to pass that Moroni, this is Captain Moroni, and it came to pass that Captain Moroni commanded that his army should go against those kingmen to pull down their pride and their nobility and level them with the earth, or that they should take up arms and support the cause of liberty. Verse 21, and thus Moroni put an end to those kingmen, that there were thereafter not any known by this name, kingmen, and thus he put an end to the stubbornness and the pride of those people who profess the blood of nobility. But they were brought down to humble themselves like unto their brethren, and to fight valiantly for their freedom from bondage. And end of close quote. Hold that thought, that very last phrase. They were obliged to fight valiantly for their freedom. Okay. Now, I'm going to, excuse me a minute. I want to change my, pull up something else instead now. Okay, we just have to do a little switcheroo here. Okay, a little switching over. Now, here's the thing. Okay, now we're talking about, and I only have about a minute and a half left. And so there's the story. And there's an object lesson in there somewhere, and we're going to apply that to ourselves, aren't we? So the next thought, after the introduction of kingmen, right, is to introduce the idea of the 12th article of faith of the LDS Church, which says we believe in being subject to kings, in obeying, honoring, and sustaining the king's law. Is that what it says? Well, it does. The whole thing is we believe in being subject to kings, rulers, etc. In obeying, honoring, obeying the ruler's law, obeying the king's law, in obeying their law. It wouldn't be anybody else's law. It would be the king's law. We will touch upon that very much in the next segment. See ya.